Hi, I'm Kelly Young, and I took part in the Chatham-Kent Authors Festival on Saturday, and I forgot to record it. And I've had some requests to repeat the reading I did, so I am going to read the prologue from the 6000, and I hope you enjoy it. The prisoners were the first to go, the old woman said, staring fixedly with surprisingly clear green eyes at the camera focused on her. But that was the most logical choice. It was a shot across the bow, so to speak, a precursor for what was to come. She paused, reaching out a slightly trembling hand to grasp a glass of water from the table. She brought it to her lips slowly and took a sip, and the young man behind the camera wasn't sure if the action was indicative of her need for a break or a pause to order her thoughts. She certainly wasn't what he had expected of a 157-year-old. Off the top of his head, he'd have pegged her at no more than 57. She appeared fit, not fragile, her silver hair and not nearly enough wrinkles, the only hint that she was a very senior citizen. Her face was full, with a glow to her skin. Her hands, he knew, were still capable of delivering a firm handshake. She had eased herself into the armchair she currently occupied with little difficulty, and she was, he had already decided, sharp as a knife. But that was supposedly typical of those who remained of the group that had come to be popularly referred to as the 6000. She had been one of the youngest of the group, formerly known as a legion, and was therefore one of the 2,000 or so members still alive in the world. The eldest of them had finally succumbed, she had revealed earlier. They had passed away not from disease or weakness, but as though they had just decided it was time. None of them had ever spoken to the media, never granted interviews, opting for privacy above all, depending on their spokesperson to address any issues. But finally one was ready to speak, and the budding journalist had high hopes of his final student documentary opening doors for him after graduation. Her silence penetrated his musings, and he looked up to see her staring at him, a slight smile on her lips, her eyes doing nothing to hide her amusement. "Is there a problem? What was your name again?" she asked. He got the distinct impression that she knew damn well what his name was. "Samuel Hoffman," he reminded her, and she nodded, her silver hair falling into her eyes before she absent-mindedly pushed it back. "You were saying about the prisoners?" he prodded. "Yes, well, they were the obvious choice, weren't they?" she asked, waiting for him to nod in assent before continuing. "Everyone knows that there were very bad people in prison, evil people. So when they dropped dead all at the same time, it wasn't too difficult for even simpletons to put two and two together." Her eyes lost their twinkle as she remembered what she had earlier referred to as the first blow delivered in the war on evil. When she didn't seem inclined to continue any time soon, Samuel prodded her gently. "But they all didn't die," he said. She chuckled. No, they didn't. "And let me tell you, that gave people pause." She smiled again, remembering. The media was pretty quick to declare that evil was being wiped out in the prisons, and the religious were attributing it to a smiting of some god or another. She waved a hand dismissively before continuing. "Then they were all so puzzled when almost half of the inmates and only about 2/3 of the guards survived that cleansing. The concept of people in jail actually being good at their core, whether they were innocent or unjustly imprisoned, while so many guards turned out to be bad, threw them for a loop." She took another drink of her water, her hand suspiciously lacking the earlier unsteadiness, and then looked straight at the camera, all traces of humor gone. "Even we, the Legion, we weren't referred to as the 6000 until later, were surprised at the numbers. We knew that some prisoners would come out of it and some guards wouldn't, but we had no idea the numbers would work out that way. I guess even then at the beginning we had hoped that the justice system had done what it was designed to do, segregated evil people from society and put them in the care of people with scruples, morals even." She shook her head sadly. "It opened our eyes," she said. "There were fewer shocks after that." Samuel met her eyes, again surprised at how clear and how young they looked. He wasn't sure this was how he wanted to begin. "Would you mind," he asked, "if we went back to the beginning? How did you become part of the 6000, the Legion? What happened leading up to the cleansing. Ah, yes, for your project, she agreed. I suppose starting from the beginning would make more sense, but I can only tell you what happened to me and those with whom I interacted directly, you understand. He nodded. His excitement at being the first to get an in-depth interview from one of the remaining 6,000 was nearly palpable. So he had had to call every family member he could find, some he hadn't even known existed up until that point, in order to get access to his great-great-great-granddaughter. So he owed every one of them at least one favor. If this turned out the way he hoped, it would be worth it, and he had to admit he needed to know. Everyone needed to know. "All right, Sammy," she said, chuckling in a shocked expression upon hearing his boyhood nickname. "Yes, I remember you as a little fellow. Why did you think I agreed?" She settled into her chair with a sigh. "The beginning," she muttered, more to herself. "This will take a while." She took a deep breath and raised her head to stare once again at the camera. "The year was 2020, and I was working as a reporter for a daily paper back when they still existed as actual paper." She raised an eyebrow in his direction. "I guess a vocation still runs in the family," she added with a chuckle. He nodded in agreement, giving her a genuine smile. She took another sip of water and then continued. "I just started dating a colleague, a reporter for the radio, and it was going well." She smiled fondly, but the expression seemed to hold some sadness as well. "Still, I was losing sleep. Actually thought I might be going mad, because I kept hearing a voice whenever I drifted off. So at first, I tried to keep from going to sleep any way I could." And that's the prologue to The 6,000. It's available on Amazon in paperback or ebook. Thanks for your time. Bye.